everyone. Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. World's Life is Strange podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I'm here. I'm no longer a chef, so that means a different hat this time.
A big career
I retired
change.
the London hat. It's right over there, like if you can see it. So, new era in life, new hat.
New era in life, new hats. Yes, very.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very good way to start this show. But yes, big change in your life, but obviously the same podcast here because we're always back.
Yeah, always here, just not as a chef.
That's positive. But yeah, as I said, that's changing your life, but also the podcast always stays the same, and we are back as well. Episode 42? I'm going to say 42.
Yes. Question mark? I believe I don't know.
42. I think we've slowly climbed to 50, which will be a big landmark, obviously.
It's crazy to think that we're almost at 50 on this one. I don't understand how time works anymore. I'm actually looking at StrangeCast on Spotify.
I believe there's 43 episodes in total, and this is going to be 42. Because obviously we had the special with Jonathan Panetta, which was 2-part episode. Well, I believe this is
Oh, you don't number the episodes, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, there they are. Yeah.
It's very much to the end.
Yeah, true. Oh, my God. It's so long of a title. I can't even see it from Spotify. Goodness.
I'm going to do this job for you. So let's go into
do it.
Go into YouTube. We are at playlist, and this will be episode 42.
Okay, there you go. 42.
Yes. So if you have managed to stay with us and not clicked off, I'm very grateful. But yes, that was one hell of a long intro. And obviously, as we start off with, as usual on YouTube, we do ask if you can please drop subscribe, like, turn on notifications, and comment for our video. It helps you keep up to date with our content. StrangeCast is also available on all podcast services. We're available on Spotify with a video version. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon. We're on everything. So you can check us out on there. And if you are a listener on podcast services, do head over to the YouTube channel, because as you'll see with this episode and probably the title or whatever, we do take a lot of fan suggestions and topics. We've had them before, and this one is no different. So if you do comment on our videos, we can more than happy to take on your ideas for future topics, because sometimes it is painfully difficult to find things to talk about, because when it's a quiet period like this, content isn't that big. And as you'll see as well, we only have one piece of news for this week as well. And usually as well, we source pretty much everything now. So we source all Deck 9 stuff. So we source anything to do with Expanse. We source stuff from Don't Nod. Generally speaking, any kind of content from Don't Nod. And then obviously Life is Strange, Square Enix related. But this is this is an example of where it's a very quiet time for the industry, per se, for now at least. But should we kick things off?
Yeah, let's kick things right off with the one piece of news.
So this is going to be very much a Deck 9 centric episode, I believe, as well, based on our main topic as well. So not much Don't Know conversation for the time being. But this is a news piece that we saw on the Life is Strange Twitter page, which was that Life is Strange True Colors has been nominated in the Peabody Awards. The prestigious Peabody Awards represents #Stories That Matter. Reading this off Twitter, by the way. And we and Deck 9 are honoured to be recognised as a Peabody nominee amongst the very best in storytelling. Peabody Twitter has also put out saying that's a wrap for our nominee announcements. We're excited to share more with you over the coming weeks to learn more about these powerful stories and luminaries behind them. Stay tuned, as winners will be announced on May the 9th. So we'll get our results on May the 9th. I went on the website. It's basically just an explanation of what Life is Strange True Colors is. And I'm not going to explain that because, that'll be a waste of all our times. If you don't know what Life is Strange True Colors is, well, you should go and play it first, get an idea of it. Interesting as well, it says on here as well on Peabody Awards that the game was released on Stadia, which I'm a little bit like, that's crazy. That
I remember it was released on Stadia. I was just like, why? Oh my god! The fact that it's still listed, it says like Xbox, PlayStation, but Stadia is not a thing anymore. Like they shut down their servers,
and they refunded everything as well.
Yeah, you can't even play anything on Stadia. So it's very interesting that they listed it. The one thing I wanted to note is that they were nominated in the interactive and immersive, and it looks like it's just one of two like video games, like quote unquote, like there's interactive like YouTube channels. Even one of them is a Minecraft server build. But it's just them and Unpacking is a video game, I'm pretty sure.
That's weird. So it's like it's a fusion of all kinds of different things, isn't it, into interactive entertainment. So like video games versus this versus that versus this. So it's like different.
Yeah, there's like immersive video technology. There's an immersive YouTube channel. There is an immersive New York Times article on here, but True Colors and Unpacking, and the Uncensored Library, which is a Minecraft thing. But those two are the only classified quote unquote video games that were nominated in the Peabody Awards. And I'm very happy for Unpacking too. I played Unpacking and I talked about it on another podcast, The Greatest Story Ever Played. We talked about that. And it's a really excellent game with no voices, no voice acting, no real story to write. Like you assume things while moving around the room, like you solve mysteries with the puzzle. And I'm like, oh, it's really good. So I think that they're in good company with the Peabody Awards being Unpacking and Life is Strange True Colors.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix to see something like this done where it's like across different categories and different categories with including different mediums and different story times, because it's not just video game versus video games, is it?
It's just interactive like imagery, interactive. Does it give us, it doesn't even say like what qualifies nominate interactive and immersive.
So on their press release here on the website, it says the Peabody Awards of jurors today announced the 42 nominees for the following categories: entertainment, arts, children's, youth, podcast / radio, interactive, immersive, and public service. The nominees represent the most compelling and empowering stories released in broadcasting and streaming media during 2022. The nominees were chosen by unanimous vote of 17 jurors from over 1,200 entries from television, podcast, radio, and the web / digital in entertainment, news, documentary, arts, children's / youth, public service, and interactive programming.
Yeah, so this is pretty prestigious. Like, it's pretty crazy.
It seems like it. I will be honest, I've never heard of the Peabody Awards. This is the 38th annual of it.
I've heard of them. I just never really thought about what they were.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's pretty prestigious, and there's only 2 quote-unquote video games on here. It's a shame that we're not nominated in the podcast category. I think that's robbery. That's StrangeCast is not in podcast radio, but sold a story how teaching kids to read went so wrong. Like, come on, the podcast is about how something went wrong. StrangeCast is about good vibes. Why weren't we nominated Peabody Awards? It's just silly, in my opinion.
I agree. And it says this as well. Of the 69 total nominations, PBS produced the most with 13, followed by HBO Max.
How many nominations?
13. PBS.
13. Gotcha.
Yeah. Followed by HBO Max with 6, Apple TV with 4, Disney Plus and FX with 3 each, and ABC, Channel 4, Netflix, and Vice with 2 each. So yes, it's a very, very wide spectrum of things. But yeah, True Colors being nominated 2022 for this release. It was released in 2022, wasn't it?
Well, it's just crazy that there were 69 total nominations. That's crazy to think that there was not near 70, but there was 69 total nominations. That's just an interesting number. It's an interesting factoid,
Oh dear.
Yeah. It's too bad there wasn't 420 nominations. That would have been, something else. But 69 total, that's a very prestigious, very, very prestigious number.
Very prestigious. Prestigious. Nonetheless, that is our one piece of news. And it's a big surprise. Great that True Colors has been nominated in that. It did say that it's for stuff that was released in 2022. And then I have to double check this as well. And True Colors was released in 2021.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm like, why is it no, like good for them. Like I'm very happy for the team at Deck Nine to like have a nomination in a video game in the Peabody Awards. But yeah, why now? It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know, but that's really cool though. I guess it's really cool. It is. It's really something.
I agree, and it's nice to see that Deck Nine has got that recognition, and in general, it's a good nomination for True Colors. True Colors was overlooked, obviously, at the BAFTAs. Erica Mori didn't win a BAFTA, Han Solo didn't win a BAFTA, which was an absolute shame. I would 100% give them. Maybe it's because I'm biased, but I thought they were overlooked for a lot of nominations. And then also the same as well, just in general, best game and stuff. It had a tough competition and tough crowd, so it's nice to see you get nominated in something like this. And obviously, best of luck to the Deck Nine team with getting this award. Hopefully, bring it home for the Life is Strange series.
Yes.
But not much else to go off for that, unless you have anything else to add.
69.
69. Yes. Okay. We will move on from that, and we'll just go into our main topic. So, as I said, not much news, and we're just going to go straight to a main topic. This was submitted on our previous video from Jace on YouTube, who asked me and Adam what our thoughts would be on like ranking the Life is Strange BTS episodes and potentially ranking the True Colors episode chapters. We could potentially do that as one game. We'll work this out as we move along. But I think it's kind of like, it's a nice suggestion from Jace, because like it's opposite of what we had with when we talked about my Metacritic reviews, because obviously they were all don't nod essentially. And it's kind of like left the Life is Strange, True Colors, and BTS on the shelf. Although we did talk about it, by the way, in that Lost episode, which was like 2.5 hours long. We talked a lot about it. So it's basically going to repeat that conversation here, so you can actually hear what we think about generally the Deck Nine stuff. So, Adam, I think we should start with BTS.
Yes.
But before that, I want to pitch you a question, because it adds into this as well. I feel like it's an age-old question in terms of how the series has been treated. Is that, do you think that Deck Nine gets an unfair rap from people in this series? Let's open this can of worms.
Put it this way. I think BTS, it was a totally fair rap. Like a totally fair... Well, no, then it wasn't, because then I'm like in the middle of that. Like, surprise, surprise, I'm on the middle of things. But, so in terms of Before the Storm situation, I got a bad rap. Was it fair or was it not fair? On one hand, it wasn't fair because of the guild. What do you call it?
SAG strikes.
SAG strikes. Thank you. So there was a lot of different voice actors that couldn't be on. There was just like a mix of writers, and it was just a whole big mess. So I don't think it was fair on that point. For certain people in Deck Nine who took credits for making Chloe a likable character through Before the Storm, yeah, I think having a bad rap was fair on that one. It's like you didn't make...
Right. Yeah. Hold on. I've always heard this. Where's that come from? Did Deck Nine say it specifically?
Yes, I think Zach Garris. I'm pretty sure Zach Garris said. Yeah, Zach Garris
said it.
I
want to get to the bottom of this, because I've always heard this comment come up from not just yourself, but like other people, and it's like,
no,
did they say it? I'm like,
hold on. Before the Storm. I'm trying to find the exact quote online before I make it official. But yes, I'm pretty sure. I'm 80% sure. We make Chloe. No, I know for a fact that it was.
Is it said in along those lines? It's not obviously that we made her completely likable, but it's like they're just saying that they made her a bit more relatable.
No, I'm definitely telling you the truth that he quoted saying like, yeah, we made her likable in this game. Still isn't sure.
I'm holding him to account here, audience. Don't worry. He's scrambling now.
I am. No, I will find this quote.
He's being challenged on this.
If I don't find it, put it in the comments right now, like where it was said. But I'm almost definitely sure.
It might have been a video. He probably said it in like one of those like little developer commentary videos.
Okay,
maybe.
Okay, I'm about to. Oh, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path.
He thinks he's on the right path. I think we should start playing some elevator music here. I might get a future edit. A little sorry inconvenience across the video.
Oh, wait. Okay. Hold on. I might have it. Well, Mayor Grant.
Have we found
first
it?
The story, prequel, we looked at the Arcade Bay. There were so many characters we kept especially how vulnerable she is, so I think personality makes principle, but maybe the first choice character you play. I think a lot of characters are often a little too neutral. It was a creative choice to make Chloe. Zach Garris. Right here. The question was, while Chloe's role in the first game made her a great character candidate for a playable character in a prequel, her attitude makes her an interesting choice to be a playable character. Did you have any concerns about making her the main character in Before the Storm? Zach Garris is quoted by saying, it's not exactly it. I'm going to read through this article a little bit more, but you see where the... Wait. He said, it was a creative choice to make Chloe, who's not so neutral, be the character we're inviting you to play. We weighed a lot of those pros and cons, and it felt like the right decision. We fell in love with doubling down and revisiting Arcade Bay, but through the unique eyes. It's going to be a different experience. I swear he did it. I swear he said it. I swear. I know this personality makes me moments that I don't think so.
Okay. So, because obviously this is like people are like getting a lot of white noise from us at this point in this podcast, like at the beginning and this middle section so far.
I know, but I'm proving myself right here.
Let's just hypothetically speaking say that they did say that. They did say that, as people have pointed out. And if you have found it, do leave it in the comments or something. It'll just explain it, because I've never seen it. I've just heard people say it, and that's why I've always kind of been a bit sketchy with like just the they said this kind of thing. Play devil's advocate. Aren't they a little bit right about that in the sense of how they're framing Chloe? Because
no, they're not right, because they're saying that like Chloe wasn't likable in the first game. So like no,
I know a lot of people
they're taking credit for making Chloe likable, and just like or making her a more vulnerable character. And like you absolutely didn't.
So no, I always think that Chloe's Marmite, if anything, in the first Life is Strange game. I love Chloe from the first Life is Strange game. I also
Marmite.
Don't like
Are you
Chloe.
serious?
Yeah, of course she is.
The first game? No.
Yeah, of course she is.
How is she
She's a very
Marmite?
Marmite character. Because like, how can you not? How can you like her in certain ways? She puts everything on Max's shoulders. She's like, "Why did you abandon me? Why did you do this?" Like she clearly, blatantly takes advantage of Max, saying, "Let's use your time powers for this. Show me your time powers. Do this." Oh, we as we talked about in our last episode with Kate. Oh, don't answer Kate's phone. Forget Kate. You're with me. I'm more important here. Yeah. So how can and I'm like, by the way,
as a fellow only child, yes, it's like I feel that one.
And let me just preface this, because I'm only playing devil's advocate here, because I see it from both sides. I really like Chloe. As I said, I really, really liked her in both BTS and Life is Strange 1, more so Life is Strange 1, if anything. But I understand why people don't like her. I also understand why people don't like Max either, and also don't like Rachel. Because they're very all Marmite figures in themselves. Like, there's a reason why everyone's like, I'm a Max stan, or I'm a Chloe stan, or a Rachel stan, or I'm like, I ship these two people together. I don't like these ones. I kind of get why they don't like them. But
yes,
do you not like understand? I wouldn't like let them take, if they did say this, they take credit for making her a likable character. Maybe they presented her in more of a neutral kind of way, or they're trying to make her neutral because of the position the story takes, compared to where the first Life is Strange game takes place, where it's like she's pretty head on, where she's like, Max, love me, Max. Basically, that's what she's like. So maybe it's that.
Yeah, please leave it in comments. I know I'm not. He said
he's been caught out here. He has been caught out here.
Lee Ryder,
I've got him. He came on here just assuming he was going to have a chilled out podcast session.
I turned up in top form. By it. He said he took credit in making Chloe a likable character over. No, he said it, and I can't find it right now. Stupid internet. I hate this. I hate the internet for many different reasons, but this point exactly. But it wouldn't surprise me if they alluded to something like it along those lines, and maybe they have said it specifically, but along those lines, I kind of get it. And I get it from two sides. I get why people think like, oh no, you didn't make them out her favorite. I also understand why a lot of people like Chloe because of this game as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm in 50-50 territory here for it personally. But
let me rewind this conversation back to
Yes.
the topic where it's like, before we start getting to the episodes and stuff, it's like, do you think they get an unfair rap?
Yes and no.
Okay, that's all that's all I wanted to know. Because like that's basically where I'm at personally. Like I have no issue with Deck 9, realistically. Like this, because this reminds me a lot of my childhood when I was playing Call of Duty in the early days. And especially like during that Modern Warfare Call of Duty, World at War / Black Ops phase, everyone was either an Infinity Ward stan or they were a Treyarch stan, and they still kind of do it with the rotational studios. I think Raven Software has been in there since, and
or even Sledgehammer too. Yeah,
Sledgehammer. So it's like people always being like, oh, it's like, you know, this person created the series or this person done it, and then the other people, like, they were basically dealt a hand, Deck 9. It was like the studio wanted to evolve and grow, and look how successful they've been since Before the Storm. Like, they have obviously took the opportunity to do it. Again, and another thing as well, let me just kind of always preface this as well. A lot of this comes down from the publisher as well. Like, Square Enix retains the IP of it, and I'm being very clear that I don't expect anything to ever be given to this channel from a publisher. And the way that we speak about certain things, I feel like you come to this podcast and you enjoy the fact that we don't accept free things from people. We don't get anything in return, and we basically speak very clear opinions that maybe you do or do not agree with. But you're basically getting. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, and there's a True Colors download code here at the bottom of the screen for you to kind of like go to a website. Ooh, thanks Square for a key code. And you might think we're being a bit spiteful and stuff, but I'm not. I played the game. I bought it myself. I give you my independent thoughts on it. Simple as it gets. But it's like with Square as well, I just know how Square's handled the series a lot, where it's like executive decisions have been made. So maybe that Square made a lot of the executive decisions on this game, or made certain decisions which Deck 9 were just basically like, okay, we'll have to do that. And as we've spoken as well, if you followed our podcast for a while, we've talked about the Oscar Gilbert interview where he talks about the contracts with Don't Nod, and they're like, we didn't really agree with all the things that were in the contracts, but it's like you just wish you could sit in a room with him quietly and be like, tell me what you feel. Like that's what it was like. It's like because we know what you're saying. It's like you're happy to work with them again, but it's the but where it's like we want to hear what you feel about something. So yeah, truthfully, I do think they get a bad rep in certain places. I also get why people do it. They're passionate about the series, you know, etc. I get that, but some things were like I was okay with some things being like canonically a little bit differently, or some things that are like changed in little ways, because it's just a different stamp of direction, isn't it? It's like Star Wars Episode 4 from Star Wars Episode 5 or 6, or even the Abrams stuff as well. Like it's so different. It's a different director's signature on something. Might be a franchise created by George Lucas, but now it's spawned its own life because of this Disney sewage that they put on it. But you know, I'm a George Lucas stan all the way. But I get it with Deck 9. So I get why they had bad rep. I felt like Chris Floyd and Web Pickers Girl got a really bad rep for it, in terms of like the way that some people were like, oh, you changed this or you done this, and they were the BTS co-directors. But I thought BTS is a very good, strong game. Very much enjoyed it. Like it's got some of the best moments in the series. And we're talking about even with the Donut games, well, it's got some of the best moments in the series, and an Unreal soundtrack as well. Like unbelievable. But yeah, we'll move on from this little Chloe Gate situation and fiasco that you brought up, and we'll
leave it in the comments. Tell me I'm right.
We will move into Life is Strange Before the Storm first. So 2017, this comes out in the summer. I believe it was August. I think the first episode launched, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. So 3 episodes, and then obviously we got Farewell afterwards. Let's kick off with just the first episode of BTS, and then
now,
also
are we ranking these in terms of like what we would give it a score, or ranking them in terms of our favorite?
I don't really go that far. Go that far deep into the kind of thing. I think we use my favorite 5-point scale, which is also a 10-point scale essentially. So you can do 0.5 across each one. So you can go 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. It's a 10-point scale, but in 5 form. Okay. And we basically use it as that. Do you want me to start with episode 1?
Sure, go for it.
So yeah, this was an interesting setup in terms of how BTS came out. Like the way that they presented the trailer, it was like, here's an E3 trailer, and then it's like, bang, it's coming out in August. And I was like, oh, actually, this is quite quick. And they obviously wanted to capitalize on the success of Life is Strange 1. Don't Know team was making Life is Strange 2 in the meantime, so obviously it's like, you know, let's get another game out in between it, and they picked Chloe as the main choice. 3 episodes. Do not like the 3-episode format. I've repeatedly said this before on podcasts. I think the example has been shown with The Walking Dead Michonne, which was a very forgettable series. It was 3 episodes, and it's very too condensed as well if you're going to try and tell a story across episodic format. There's too much stuff. You need a bit more time, and you see it with this as well with some of the episodes. But in terms of episode 1 of BTS, which is called Awake. off the top of my head.
Yes, it is.
Take a punt on this. I think it's Awake, Brave New World, and Hell is Empty.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm like
very
90%
good guess off the top of my head. If I get that right, I'd be very surprised because like I'm usually wrong about 99% of the things. Adam is doing a research. Here he goes. Deleting all of Zach Garris history, but continue.
We'll kill you, dude. Awake, Brave New World, and Hell is Empty. Yes.
Oh, look at that! Perfect. There we go. Yeah. So yes.
Oh, and I have the Metacritic scores right here too.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. So we kick off things with the first episode. I thought it was a really nice setup, the way it starts up in terms of being at the barn. And we kind of get a full expose of Chloe. We have Chloe in the main seat at this point. No Max. We're prequel. A bit more time to explore these kind of characters. And then, obviously, very quick early introduction to Rachel Amber, which is quite nice. And really enjoyed Rachel Amber. I've always spoken very highly of the character. Love the character. It's my favorite character. Kylie Brown is just incredible. Like, you couldn't got a perfect more casting if you tried. But generally speaking, it was an interesting take on the episode because, like, it goes well. It's a bit of a slow burner again, like, you know, a little bit like the other episodes, but introductions, I can't really complain too much. Yeah. Some great moments in it. With the first episode, we get an introduction to other cast members, like, you know, Steph, Mikey, Samantha, some fresh of the original Deck 9 character creations in Arcadia Bay that they made. We get a very early expose of D&D as well from that segment. We get Drew North, we get other characters, Drew North as well. Trey Hutch was on Life After Strange, just quick plug as well if you want to go and watch that, it's on YouTube. But yeah, it was nice, and I really enjoyed some of the moments. I love because it's like it captured how I felt about things, especially with the Rachel stuff. Like I love when you go into the like drama school with Mr. Keaton and Dana, and it's like, you know, she does that thing where she like does a little twirl and she winks at Chloe, and then you get the kind of entire segment with the train sequence where it's true, truth, and a lie. Really enjoyed that. Thought it's a really cool feature. Adds to kind of personality of Rachel, exposes it a bit more. And generally speaking, the first episode I think is fairly well paced. It's really good in terms of the acting. I think they capture certain essences of what Life is Strange is from what Don't Nod games are. They also have their own kind of like flair on it in terms of what the Deck 9 kind of way of telling a story is. And generally speaking, a very good first episode, if I'm being honest with you. There's, as I said, some great moments, like even the ending's great, like the harrowing daughter music, which is like, for me, on probably a bold claim to make, almost very similar to the first Life is Strange episode where it ends with Sid Meier's obstacles, like the entire montage, and then kind of like the end and setup piece is so good for that. Kylie's scream as well at the end of that was great. And then also the other scenes as well in terms of the picnic as well, where, you know, we need mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And she's like, oh, no. It's like great acting all the way around. But it was good. It's like, the thing is, for the expectation, it fulfilled me with the first episode. And I really enjoyed it. But then obviously, as we go on, I had little issues that started appearing. And I thought, like, when they kind of almost alluded to the fact that Rachel might have powers, it was like, and then it's like, nah. And it's like, yeah, it's just the wind and stuff. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's like,
I mean, we never really got an official answer. We just heard like, oh, she could. But yeah, I don't think she has powers. I'm on team Rachel does not have powers. Yeah. I think it takes away from, just a little side note, a little sidestep. I think in terms of character development, as someone who likes to write a little bit, you know, I teeter with it. I think it takes away from her power as a character. Yeah. So giving her power kind of takes away from the emotion she gets, like the power behind her emotions that affects others. Because if you give her a superpower, right, it's almost like a Deus Machina, right? Where it's like, well, it's just the powers coming out. Where it's like, I think there's something a little bit more, a little bit more oomph to it. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm trying to think of significance. There's a sort of significance to having a power with her charisma versus having a power with a power. So I don't think that giving Rachel powers necessarily makes a better story. I think it's better story that she had the charisma that she had naturally, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm on team Rachel doesn't have any powers, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
In my right opinion, anyway.
Yeah. generally
Yes.
speaking, the first episode is fairly well paced. Like the back talk mechanic is a good substitute for what they had. Like obviously they can't work with a superpower because Max isn't there and Chloe doesn't have any superpowers. So they had to go with the back talk mechanic, and it's a good idea. It's a clever idea. I think, like, for me, in hindsight, and as I've said to you before, you've obviously now played it, the council. Like, the council's just, like, confrontation mechanic is just so much better. It's more sophisticated, and it's more advanced. Like, that's what you wanted the back talk mechanic to be. Where it's, like, it's more kind of, like, there's more to it rather than just being, like, oh, you know, this kind of, like, pick a choice, and it's, like, you know, it just didn't have the same kind of feel. And if you haven't played the council, go and play it. It's an episodic game made by a French developer called Big Bad Wolf. Bit buggy in places, bit crazy towards the end of the story, but like generally speaking,
yeah,
a very interesting take on episodic genre, especially with like RPG elements. But on terms of like the first episode of BTS, I just enjoyed it. I had no expectations in terms of like a massive expectation. It was kind of like I'm expecting just a really good story, and I kind of got that, and it makes, for me, it made Chloe a bit more kind of like, you know, I get why she's in this kind of position. You have exposés in terms of relationships with Joyce and Dave Madsen and Chloe and Nathan. They're giving a bit more context. Victoria, like I would want, and we'll talk about this a bit more in later episodes. I wanted more of like Victoria, for example, and Nathan. This is why I think like if you had 4 or 5 episodes, you could have explored these characters a bit more and made them like the characters that you basically springboard straight into Life is Strange 1 with. It's kind of like their stories are a little bit like here and there mishmashes. But generally speaking, enjoyed it.
Yeah. For me, no. What was your final ranking for it out of the 4.5 scale or 5?
I didn't even
scale?
say yet. I was waiting for your thoughts first.
Okay, I was about to say I didn't think you said it, but I was just making sure.
No.
But yeah, no. For me, I definitely enjoyed Before the Storm, episode 1, Awake. I thought it was more of a slow burn. I think the character development was a little bit too slow. Like it was more of a slow cooker rather than like a fire pan kind of like this is what it is. It was just more of slow pace. These are who the characters are. This is their motives. And it's like, okay, that's great. Even on the train, when you're on the train with Chloe and Rachel, that development is of more of a slow cooker in the right context. Like the right context for a slow cooking character development, that was it. Versus when you're in the bar, like you're the first scene in the concert, that was, in my opinion, was a slow cooker kind of character development that wasn't necessary. There needs to be a flash pan kind of development there. So I thought the pacing was a little bit off. I thought that it was hard to win a newcomer over versus somebody who enjoys Life is Strange, is already in. But in terms of like all that, my ranking for the 10-point scale, but in a 5, I'm gonna give this one a 3.5. Honestly, like a 3.5 out of 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would probably be the same as well. I think 3.5 is a very respectful score for it. I think it's a good episode to start with. I think it's just got. In hindsight, when you see it in hindsight, it's like the complete picture makes it very different. Like if you recorded it, like if I would have reviewed it at the time in the industry, it would have been like 4 or something. So I would be like, oh, this is actually a good start. It's like a good introduction. But when you have hindsight, you're like, it map goes out this way, and it's like, you know, it was a bit slow in this part, and it kind of like, as you said, there was slow cooker moments. There was really enjoyable moments. There's a big kind of like the big withdrawal of the Max's rewind power really does affect the game because then it feels like a completely different game in context. I mean, I think that the game hasn't really ever, even the series has never really caught back on since the Max phase of it, where it's like you have the rewind mechanic. Even Life is Strange 2 felt a little bit choppy in parts because you just didn't have a power in terms of that you could physically control and alter the gameplay experience. It felt like a lot more of an interactive story in parts as well. And this one did as well. First episode, it felt like a lot more interactive. Those scenes where you could basically have a bit of time, but you're back to become basically a generic girl in terms of like she has no powers. It's just you're just doing puzzles or you're doing something to fill in the gaps of things. But generally speaking, as I said, enjoyed it. There's some really great moments. The acting was chef's kiss. Soundtrack is phenomenal. So great start for a series, if anything. Do you go into episode 2?
Yeah, let's move on to episode 2. You can start us off.
Yeah, this is one of the best moments in the entire series, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Tempest.
Tempest. glass breaking.
Yeah, it's divine. This episode, I think this is personally for me the strongest episode out of the series, not including Farewell. If we're talking about just the 3 episodes, I think this is probably the strongest because of just the Tempest alone. I think the Tempest is like, is a memorable moment for a lot of people. I think it's just that is Deck Nine's signature, and obviously because we have hindsight now as well, and having the release of True Colors and the D&D segment they did, and that they had ample rooms to kind of like just project who they are, what they did, and obviously having spoken to some of the actors in this game and having spoken about like the kind of the technicality side of producing that as well. It's a great spectacle. It's a great kind of like addition to the series, and it really it personifies Rachel Amber, the character that we knew, because we knew that she wanted to be a model and she was like the girl next door and everyone loved her, and she's like the really smart kid at school, etc. But this kind of like adds the detail of like, yeah, she is this character in the Tempest. She is this kind of like like she is a Hollywood actor, an actor in the making, etc. Like she lives for the drama. That's what I'm looking for. She lives for the drama kind of moment. But no, like, even outside the Tempest, just generally speaking, a lot better in terms of pacing wise for me, if anything. I think obviously you have the introduction set, you can kind of start moving forward with it. And yeah, generally speaking, it was good. Like even the setup with the lamppost as well. Obviously, the lamppost scene gives a lot of people what they want in this fandom, like and the kind of like building of that. And then the kind of like the dining scene as well towards the end of the episode is like pretty, it's like just like Kylie Brown driving power of like, range of acting. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, do you know what as well? Like the weird thing is like we're talking about, I'm still not sure how I feel about Rihanna DeVries as Chloe. I just don't know how I feel about Chloe in this game. Like, it's a really tough pill to swallow. Like obviously we spoke about the SAG strikes and the actors change. Chloe was just it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a really hard. It's like we were trying to make Life is Strange and it was a remake or whatever else, and we took away Hannah Patel from Max Caulfield. It's like,
yeah, no. It's like to play Chloe. The reason why it's so easy to mess up the national anthem in America, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, they really botched the national anthem, is because the complexities of notes that go into the national anthem in terms of singing, it's simple, but hit the wrong note and you've messed up the entire time, right? So it's a harder song to sing, even though people think it's a very simple song to sing because everybody knows it, in America at least. Same thing with Rachel. Rachel is simple but complex all at the same time in terms of character development, story, background. She's simple but complex all at once. So for somebody to play Chloe, right, you need to be the original. So somebody else coming into the mindset of Chloe, if you mess up a single note on Chloe, everybody thinks you botched it, when in reality it's such a complex character to play that I think it comes off as mixed feelings.
Yeah, it's like as I said, like I like Rihanna DeVries' performance, but it's like I can only dream of like what it would have been like for Ashley Birch to have done this game, then also with Joe Ockman as William Price. Like there's just like, because of the how much ammunition they give them, those two characters in this game compared to the first game, it's like you just got like loads of time with them, and it's like you just want, it's just but again, I get it as well. It's a different Chloe, it's a different time, etc. So you kind of get into that mindset. But generally speaking, like, because I'm going to kind of like, whilst we're doing this, we'll move in through different topics and like different characters and stuff, because I don't want to just condense to certain episodes. Like this one where it's like we start seeing a bit more of the Frank stuff and the Damon storyline as well. We see Damon. Is it in this episode he beats up Drew North? Or he can beat up Drew North.
Yes.
Yeah, then Mikey can obviously be. Yeah, and Mike is, depending on what happens, Mikey can hurt his arm and stuff. There's nice. I like the layers that they added in terms of the even the 3 episodes they had time to explore some other characters. Obviously, like we have Drew and Mikey, and then obviously we have a little bit again with like Victoria, with the kind of like spiking the tea kind of thing, where she kind of like forever lives in Rachel Amber's shadow. It kind of gives you a bit of context in terms of why she doesn't like Rachel Amber going into the first Life is Strange, why she kind of positions herself as the way that she does. But that character needed just a bit more in terms of it. And same with Nathan as well. And Samantha's relationship. I know that you were like Samantha, so it's like there was more to it, that relationship, rather than just the way it ends as well in the next episodes. We'll see. It's like a little montage, but there was like little bits. I'm still not sold on Damon as a villain. I just don't really rate him. And we'll address Elliot in the next episode because there's a lot to be said about Elliot.
Yeah.
But again, like it's just a steady episode 2. It's like I have not many problems with BTS. I have more issues of pacing, the structure of it, the more time we could have had, the ending of the 3rd episode. But episode 2 in general, I think, as I said, I think this is the strongest episode out of the 3 of them.
I think so. I agree. With everything that you said, I think it's a strong episode. I think that it is the textbook definition of a climax in the episode of the storyline. I think that's we see everybody's motives pay off in terms of where they are in life. I think Rachel slamming down on the glass table, trying to understand what her life means and why she's being treated the way she is. I think that was a beautiful way to end things. I do agree with you that Damon is not a good villain. However, we do see him at his peak worst. I think we see him as a bad character, an awful human being. It's the textbook definition of a climax. And with that, while there are still some pacing issues, and I think that's because it's a 3-episode arc, so they have to stretch all this time out. I don't think it's their fault. I'm giving this episode, man, I'm between 4 and 4.5, honestly. Because it's like a 4.25 in my opinion, but if I'm gonna choose one, I'm gonna give it a I'm gonna give it a 4. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. It's a strong 4.
Yeah, we can't do the 4.5s that I was giving out every so it's like it's just it just lacks that extra bit of substance to it. Like this is the thing with like, because this is like it's basically like this is episode 3 Chaos Theory without having episode 4 Dark Room and episode 2 Out of Time with it in between it. It's like almost going through episode 1, 3, 5. If we take the first Life is Strange, you basically cut out 2 sections in between it where you can basically have a bit of a filler episode in terms of like the story, where you can have extra kind of character development. You can have this. It just feels like it's steady pacing like quite a lot through it. And then it's like when we get to past the Tempest up to Rachel's house, it's like, oh shit, it's like, everything's hitting the fan again. It's like, and we're kind of like focusing on why Rachel feels the way that she does, but it's like, and as you see in the 3rd episode when we get onto it, like the opening where like you go and see Rachel in a room and you see the bit of character development again between Chloe and Rachel. That's kind of what you wanted with this episode a bit more. It's like you have more interaction with it. Obviously you have the lamppost scene, as I said, that's really touching, but as I said, it just goes and it's like it's speeding all the way through because it's like it's shifting into this is the penultimate episode, essentially. Man, we're only 2 episodes into this. We're talking about this is the penultimate episode for the season. So I think that's for me why it has to come to a 4. It can't be a 4.5 because it just doesn't have additional substance to kind of like take it to the next episode. This would have been, does episode 3 Chaos Theory's place and then there's 2 more episodes around it, it would have been a 4.5 for me. I would have been happy to give it a 4.5, but I just think that there's just something lacking here. But for me, it is the best episode in the series so far, aside from Farewell, obviously.
I agree. Yeah. And I guess you kind of gave away your ranking for Farewell just there.
Shut up. Let's move into episode 3. So this obviously, now we're at the finale. A lot to be said about this episode, actually. I think this is the one that I have more to say about than compared to the other ones. As I said, the opening is very beautiful. I love the fact that you go and see Rachel in a room, you have the lights and you're setting up there and it's got the music, Daughter's music. Again, like Daughter's just like that was just we went from Sid Matters to Daughter, like that was just, this game made me a Daughter fan. Like, I never, mad as it is, I know that Daughter's a UK band. I never heard of Daughter before this. And because of this, I like listen to Daughter and they just I have the soundtracks, I have everything. They thank you, Webb. Of Chris Floyd, Deck 9, for introducing me to Daughter. Very grateful for that. As much as I'm with the Daughter team introducing me to Sid Matters, absolutely love that you introduced me to those musicians.
Same thing with True Colors and Nova and More.
That's what I mean. Like there's just great like selection of music and musicians that they pick. But BTS episode 3 is an interesting one. It's just the the way it's structured, the way it goes, there's just certain things which I have issues. Like, I enjoy certain parts of the pacing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy certain parts of it. It's like it's steady, like in terms of like when you're in the junkyard and you get confronted by Damon, you get confronted by Frank as well there, and it's kind of like shit hits the fan. You end up going to the hospital. I love when you go into the hospital. They kind of have that parallel with Don't Nod, where it's like the Kate Marsh scenario where you have like an extra chapter included. Essentially, you'll get it anyway, but regardless of the choice with True North. But it's kind of like it feels like a reference a little bit, or like kind of like a sort of homage where you have like a hospital scene with like an interaction from the previous stuff. So it kind of ties in those characters. It gives like a bit more time to again to Steph, Mikey, Drew, and enjoy that. But then there's just like other things that I don't like about this episode, like the Elliot storyline. Like, just leave me alone, man.
Yeah,
honestly, did not like
pay
that
off.
No, it does
really
not.
didn't.
It doesn't achieve anything. No, it just doesn't.
No.
It feels like someone was it feels like someone in the writing room was kind of like, just like, let's do a stalker angle because like we can talk about it in a topical sense, but it's like this guy's like creeping this girl out and we're just doing the story. I just didn't give anything to the story. Like, he's just lingering there. He's like a poor man's Warren. Like, at least with Warren, he added a bit more to Max's story. Like, he was still a love interest, but not as creepy as Elliot. Like, Elliot's just like, oh, I don't know, like, Chloe, like, why you like me? It's like, we're confronting in this girl's house. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like, just fuck off, man. It's like, we don't want you here.
Honestly.
But he just doesn't add anything to the story. This is the thing. And by the way,
he adds another back talk gameplay. Like, that's what he adds. He adds another back talk.
That's his service.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Ashley. That's the perfect way of putting it. He is basically a back talk confrontation.
Yeah, well, he's another game mechanic. That's all he is.
And what annoys me about this as well, like, as he said with the council, but with the council as well, like when I talk about confrontations, it's basically a mechanic where you come up against another figure and then you have like loads of choices. It's kind of similar to Backtalk. You have choices, but then you can use the RPG elements. So you have like, if you have a certain set of skills, you might unlock a secret way of like fighting back in terms of verbal kind of confrontation. And they have repercussions, and it felt significant. But like, if they were going to do anything, they could have even jazzed it up and made Elliot, quote unquote, the final boss, where he's like a more significant Backtalk mechanic, where they even evolve it, a bit more. Where it's like they have those kind of like, if you picked up on something earlier in the game on Elliot, then you could use it against him in a dialogue choice, made him a little bit more kind of meatier. And if you wanted to make that a bigger thing, then maybe it could have worked. Maybe that could have been the payoff where he's basically not necessarily a historian involvement to Chloe, but he's basically the bigger villain in terms of the confrontation system, that they have the Backtalk system in that.
I agree.
So that would have been fine. So I'm not too bad for that. Then it kind of like goes into the game a bit more. We drag the kind of like the Sarah storyline in it with Rachel's biological mother. Damon again. I just don't believe Damon. Like, do you know what as well? The best part is the interview that I did with Trey Hodge, who was True North's voice actor. He's like, look at True North. He's like, he would batter Damon. I'm like, yeah, actually,
yes.
The more that you said it now, this guy should be like absolutely getting slapped about by Frank right now. Obviously, we know what Frank does, and like, that kind of like thing. Yeah,
Frank and Damon is a more fair fight, but Drew, and again, if you haven't watched Adnan's interview with Trey Hutch, Trey made some great points. He did not like the way Drew's story ended, but first and foremost, like what you said, he would absolutely like scrape the floor with Damon's white ass. Like he is just like the skinny white dude, and Drew North is jacked. Like he is on the football squad. He's taking roids. Let's be reasonable here. He's taking something. This dude is like has a lot of rage in him, and he's younger than Damon. Like he's a lot younger. So in terms of like an actual street fight, oh my! Like in a defense, Drew would actually like scrape the floor. Wipe him out.
Look at him. It's like a tank. You're like knocking through the dormitory door.
Yeah,
like take him out.
There are ways where, and again, being from Philadelphia, I've seen a fair amount of street fights. There are, on the occasion where like those two builds, like the skinny person can take on. Like there's a chance, but 9 out of 10 times, the size of Drew versus the size of Damon in a street fight, Damon's done. Like he's done.
Yeah, he's getting dusted from it, and it's like the entire like setup with that, with like Sarah and the drugs kind of thing, the Damon storyline. If I'm correct as well, I feel like my mind is so like goldfish. He does inject her with drugs, right?
Wait, with the drugs that he's selling?
Yeah,
OxyContin. Yeah, it can be injected.
No, but what I mean is, do you when he has Sarah and he's captured Rachel's mom?
Oh yes,
he
does inject her. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like I'm like that's obviously a tough scene to watch in terms of like it's difficult, but that scene felt like it dragged on a little bit. Do you know, the entire like that kind of like moment there.
It was a
like,
James Bond villain like monologue. It really was. Like
it's
like when I take over the planet Earth, and it's like, okay, dude, like you are.
I get it.
You're a drug lord. You're not a James Bond villain. Like, come on.
Like that entire like section there, and then even with Damon and Frank, it's just like feels like again nowhere near as good as Dave Madsen versus Jefferson. Like that entire opening sequence that we talked about that in episode 5 when they're fighting. It's like it just doesn't have the same to it,
Same emphasis, yes.
Yeah. By the way, can we just admire that? I was like so much. Dave, he's got a gun. It's like, right, Max, I'm going.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, oh my god, like it's so bizarre, my guy.
Oh god, like I can't stop laughing at it. We're not even talking about it, but as soon as I mentioned Dave and Jefferson, that fight, it's like so. Like, Dave Madsen should hold his head down in shame. Like, my God. It's like, you should take him out. It's like, David, he's got a gun. I'm on it, Max.
On it, Max. It's like, oh, my God, dude. It's so frustrating to play all that. It's so absolutely frustrating.
But generally speaking, like, even when we get through the episode, it's a bit of an uneven episode for me personally. It's like this, like up and down. If you're not watching the video version, come to YouTube, watch it. You'll see me do my hand movements. It's like an up and down, like, moment where it's like, we have the Elliot thing, it's a bit slower, and it's like, this is happening and that's happening, and it's like, and I'm like trivializing a little bit. It's up and down at certain times, and obviously you get towards the end as well, and you can tell like the truth about her mum and stuff, which is I feel like is a fine choice as well. Again, like these aren't like that choice will never be as big as you choose the Bay or the Bay. Like that's just,
right.
This is where BTS has its own detriments, where it falls down, because it's like you're basically taking the big choice out of it. So it's like there's no, for me, real big choice in this game ever. Like there's like little minor choices, like do you take the money? Do you not take the money? Do you give the money to someone? Do you not give the money? Do you tell Rachel or not? They're just the kind of average choices I'd expect in a game. There's no kind of like punching line at the end of it. It's not like there's it's not like the last scene is basically you choose to give Rachel's mom an overdose completely or not.
Yeah,
that's a more significant one, considering we had episode 3 in the first Life is Strange, where it's like, do you euthanize your friend or not? It's like whoa, It's like this is only episode 3 and that's happening. So I'm pretty content with that. And then obviously you get the montage at the end. Didn't like the ending. I've always held it very much as well. I've always said this as well. That ending really rubs me the wrong way. Like, it's a nice little montage things. I just think the Jefferson thing was a little bit... We know what happens. We know the characters. It just doesn't fit with the tone of the game. I think, like, I've always had my own revisionist kind of thing where they should have had Jefferson as a character who appears. They should have just basically gone... when they're like having the Hulkling thing and they're doing the photo shoot and they're like really enjoying, and like Chloe and Rachel and like thinking, it should just basically go bang and it goes black screen and it goes like X amount of years later and it fast forwards and it does a real-time cutscene where it's Chloe from Life is Strange 1 putting up the flyers and stuff like that around Arcadia Bay, putting around.
That would have been good. That would have been great.
Putting them up at Blackwell. I would even find it quite nice if they had like a little reference where it shows like a car driving in the background and it has Max in it with her mum, and it kind of like shows like there's like we're setting up for the first Life is Strange. She's got her head down.
Kinda
she's like putting these.
How in True Colors, the end of Wavelengths.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, so we'll get onto that as well, because Wavelengths' ending is very. I like it now, considering all things as well. I like the setup. That is the kind of thing, but like that's happening, and then obviously I feel like she's like mumbling blah blah Chloe, and then if she like bumped into Jefferson, she didn't realize it. She just bumps into someone, drops all these flyers, then she's like picking them up, and this guy like is holding one, like gives it back to her, and then she walks away, and then the camera pans up and it's Jefferson's face, and we're like, yes, holy shit. Well, he doesn't even talk, so you don't even get an actor from him. It's just like you get that kind of like, fuck. It's like that's we know what's happening. It kind of adds that little thing in itself. Maybe I know why they didn't do it, in case someone hadn't played the first Life is Strange, because even if you play BTS first then play Life is Strange 1, you still don't know who is taking the picture of the dark room. So maybe there's a reason why they did that. But personally, the ending has never really rubbed me the right way. That I just don't know why it is. I just don't know what it is with that ending. It's like,
yeah,
I wish it would. As I said, this is the thing though with that episode. Like, I know I've been rambling more, if anything, during this, but it's like that's the thing. And we haven't even talked about the Nathan Samantha thing, the way that ends. I'm like, that's why it needed more, man. It's like if that would have happened, even if it would be like, even if it's not my revisionist ending, like you have this kind of scene where you see like Jefferson extend his hand to Nathan or something, and like it's like, oh shit. It's like you kind of see the grooming early on, then you kind of see like a scene where you see Victoria walk past with the Vortex crew / her little cronies, and it's like then it adds that extra layer, because it feels like there's like a little bit of a bridge that's not been gapped there.
Yeah,
it feels like we just got a montage, and it's like it's filling certain endings and certain scenes and certain story arcs, but there was just a little bit extra I could have wanted. But that's how I felt in episode 3.
Oh yeah. So for me personally, the ending never really paid off, and that's what really drives the nail forward. There's a difference between ending a series without satisfaction and without things paying off in the end. Yeah. It's hard to land a plane. It really is. It's hard to land a plane of a storyline. It really is. Like, and there's sometimes where you don't land it in the right way. It kind of feels anticlimactic. If I said that right, anticlimactic, yes. Whatever. There's a difference between that, and there's a difference between nothing really paid off. What are we really doing here? You know, like nothing really actually happened, which is why people were upset in Mass Effect 3, because nothing really was a payoff. Like it just kind of was. But with episode 3, and I think that was a big issue, is that nothing really paid off. Like you said, like with Nathan Samantha, that didn't really pay off in the end. With Elliot, didn't really pay off. With Damon as a character, Drew North as a character, it's just like nothing's really paying off. It was more of like a Seinfeld episode where it's like nothing really was answered. So, it's just, yeah.
Well, because what I don't want to touch you because I've talked enough, but what you said it there, it's like with Damon as well, and we see like Frank doing the kind of like the digging and stuff. I agree with you, because like the payoff isn't worth it, because in Life is Strange 1, Damon doesn't exist, because obviously we're talking about prequel here, so it doesn't give you any extra reference to it. And then with like Frank, we don't have like a couple more minutes where it's just him being like raging, like kind of like an angry guy or something during that scene or something, just kind of show that there's an early transformation to the character we're going to get used to in the first Life is Strange, because he's very different in BTS. Because like what you said there, it's like those payoffs that aren't there. It's like obviously Elliot gets written off, so it's like no one's ever mentioned Elliot again. It's kind of like, what's the point of him being here? It's like, this is why. Actually, go on, continue. I'm going to let you work on it.
No, and that's what I mean. Though. It's like it's not really a good payoff in the end. It just kind of leaves you not even wanting more, but just kind of leaving you feeling like, what did it all matter? Like Rachel never met her mom. Like her mom was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna go now. And Chloe's like, but why? He's like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go now. Right now, I've decided. Me, Rachel's mom. I decided I'm just gonna go. Don't tell Rachel I'm around, because just don't. And it's like, okay. And then you get back to the hospital, and it's like, do you tell her the truth that her dad really paid her off, or do you leave her in bliss? But and nothing. No matter what choice you make, it doesn't actually matter. No. Like it doesn't matter in the end, because the result going into Life is Strange 1, like it's kind of like it is what it is. So I just think that episode 3, with very little payoff, and even at the last choice, doesn't really actually. Even in Life is Strange 1, when it came down to the 2 choices, those choices mattered. Like it mattered. Like it mattered in terms of like where the story will go and how you end things off, and where is Max in terms of her personality. This one is just kind of like, okay, so she knows the truth that her dad's a dick, or she doesn't know the truth that her dad's a dick, and there we go. So I'd say from there, I would give this 3, maybe.
Yeah, it would be about a 3. It'd be like 3 or 3.5. I'd probably say like 3, because it's like, as I said, like there's meat in the episode in certain places, respects, and there's some really enjoyable scenes, some great dialogue, great acting. Like that's just substantially runs throughout most of it, if anything. But this is the problem that I have, and I've always said this since very much since BTS came out. I wanted it to be 5 episodes. Like I wanted Square Enix to make conviction with this, basically, where they were like, right, Donut's going to go and do this game, Life is Strange 2, do whatever. Let's capitalize on Max and Chloe a bit more. Let's do a direct sequel if we need to, and we'll just do it from this other studio and get 5 episodes in. Or let's just do a Chloe story and let's do it 5 episodes. Might as well. We've got plenty of time here, ample timing. Let's just do 5 episodes. Because obviously we learn about Farewell later on, and we move on to that next anyway. But we learn about that later on. It's like, why don't you just do 5 episodes? It would have made more sense in season structure. Like, there's no 3-episode series I've ever seen in this episodic format that we used to play in that did any good with it. Even Michonne was like this when you played it. I didn't like Michonne anyway, but the pacing by the time you got to the 3rd episode, I was like, where are we? It's like, where's the last episode?
Honestly.
And it feels like with this one, it's like I would have wanted to spend more time with Chloe. Where we were getting even there should be like just an episode where it's a car scene where it's just in the car with William Price and Chloe driving. Those were so great. Those are some great moments that they produced in the series Deck Nine. But it's like there's just substantial meat missing off the bone here a little bit. It's like you got a really great appetizer from this, but it's like you were left wanting. And like that's the issue with this kind of game. This is why I don't have a huge. That's why I'm like when I prefaced this conversation off to start with, where I said like, does Deck Nine get a bad rep? Because that's my issue with this. I don't give Deck Nine a bad rep because of like all the other things where it's like, they make Chloe more likable. It made it more likable, or they made a continuity error and stuff. That doesn't bother me. Every series goes through that, and it's like I'm not, as I said to people before, there are more die-hardcore fans in the series than me. I just like talking about it and want you here to talk about it with me. But like that's the thing with Life is Strange Before Storm. It just lacked the extra bit of storytelling, doing that little bit of extra Deck Nine storytelling that they wanted to tell and like explore this character. They introduced these characters like Steph and Drew and like their own original characters and creations, and then it's kind of like poof, it's gone. It's like even with some of my, she's gone, disappears. It's like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, it's just like nothing happens.
Yeah, because like there could have been like twists in here. I want them to do like twists in there, like even with the kind of the Frank Rachel dynamic. I would have loved to have for them to have made it out to be that Rachel isn't the cheating woman, girl, blah blah, that people expect it to be. That relationship wasn't the way that you expect it. It's just being told through Frank's perspective of how much he thinks Rachel means to her. They barely interact in the story, do they not? Yeah. Like I'm being serious. I can't remember like them showing that kind of like chemistry. It's like, oh, this is. She's interested in it. It's like, what? It makes no sense even more now when you look at it. It's like, why is she interested in him? Like, it's like, wait a minute, what? And it's like, that's the thing that I was missing with that. Like, those kind of like little ties that you can have with characters. Like, it's like, it's explaining a little bit more. And you kind of throw those twists. I would have even seen a twist where they made Samantha one of Nathan's first victims in the dark room.
Sure. Like, there's at least had some payoff, at least something. Yeah. Like, as horrible as it is, it's just at least there's some payoff, Yeah. But there's nothing.
For me, I think in terms of if we take in across everything, books, films, TV, music, anything, nothing is more disappointing when there's no payoff to it.
Exactly.
Like, even if it's a subpar thing, if you have no payoff to it, what's the point? Like, that's why I've always had this kind of thing with the journey that I always say. Like, when I played the first 2018 God of War, I play a Metal Gear game or a Life is Strange game. There's a payoff there. That you're going on a journey with this character. This character has an ending. And the ending we always say is difficult, but there's a payoff to that journey. It's like, look at Max's story. Max's story about transformation, a coming-of-age story, a girl turning into a young woman, accepting what her choices are, her consequences. God of War has its, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it has its own kind of like, story in terms of like we have a payoff. We have this with Metal Gear, we have it with Gears of War, we have it all kind of games. But with BTS, it lacks it with both. I think for me personally, it lacks it with both Chloe and Rachel.
Yeah,
there's no substantial payoff to say, oh, this character's like this because of this, or it has this. Like it feels like it's just kind of like you like Chloe a bit more now because you kind of understand her relationship with Rachel, and you also understand that she's kind of like going through this grief with her mum and dad, with her dad's death. Sorry, and it's like. Not many characters get it, really. I think, like, if I'm going off the top of my head, probably the only one is really Dave Madsen, if anything. They kind of give a lot more weight to Dave Madsen, where it shows him trying with Chloe. And it's like, and it shows the evolution of his story with Joyce as well in there. But other characters, it's kind of like, it's just like, you're kind of like left wanting a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
And like, that's my issue with BTS, because by the time we get to episode 3, we finish it. And I really like BTS, by the way. I need to reference it. I really like BTS. It's really, really enjoyable. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But it's like, it's got its meat off the bone. And it's like, I'm missing that extra little bit that makes me feel like, oh, I can push this up to a 4, 4.5, or 5, whatever. It's just lacks that. And I think when we talk about True Colors, and for context as well, just to quickly say this, because we spoke off it, and you'll see an edit in this podcast. We're moving True Colors into a separate episode because we've obviously gone on for a while as well. I mean, Adam decided we'll take Jace's topic and we'll use True Colors as a separate one, because me and Adam have a lot to say about True Colors. Like, it's always been a topic conversation with True Colors, and I think breaking down each chapter, because I said to Adam we'll review the full thing, but it's like instead we'll review, as Jace wants, like each chapter with wavelengths, because that's 5 chapters with wavelengths, and I think, considering how news and stuff is going on
with wavelengths, it's 6 chapters.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So that's perfect for a topic. So obviously, with the news and stuff, we can just move it into a future episode. So Jace, we'll hold on to that. So just to clarify before, because obviously I said we'll do both True Colors and BTS. We're just going to do BTS at the minute. But in terms of BTS, though, like that's the thing. Like when you look at True Colors and just compare it, True Colors feels more complete. Like there's payoffs in that. Like even Alex's story is a payoff, depending on the endings and stuff. Still a payoff. You get her story. You get a payoff for Han Soto's Gabe's character, story arc. You get payoff for that. You get payoff for Steph being in Haven Spring, especially more so with Wavelengths. Pays off what her relationship with Alex is and why she feels the way that she does, and it's building up to all kinds of like little things. So I think like there's more payoffs in that. And it's like there was more freedom for that. They had 5 chapters, for example. Even if you take the 5 chapters away and put them in 5 episodes, True Colors, it feels more like, oh, we can explore this person, we can explore this person, we can explore this person. Then more time with characters. This didn't. And this summed up what episode 3 was. It was like, we're going Chloe and Rachel again, and it's like, and what did we get from this completely? To be honest, like I personally took away from BTS where it's like I got time to spend with Rachel Amber, and like Rachel Amber just like put herself as my favorite character at that point. I feel like they really encapsulate that well. But then other than that,
no, it's just there's absolutely no payoff. Even Seinfeld, a series where it's all about nothing, right? That had a payoff. Like whether or not people agreed with that payoff or not, like the end episode, without giving any spoilers, at least with all their shenanigans, it all paid off in the end. Yeah. Something that a show is about nothing, like literally that's what it's about. It's about nothing, had a payoff, and this just didn't. So that's why I give episode 3 probably a 3. You know,
everything has to have a payoff. Like you can have the worst experience in the world, and then it gets the payoff. And it's like, actually, this was worth it. It's like, fair enough. Then you can accept that for what it is. It can be really mundane, but if it's a payoff at the end, you're like, okay, I took something really away from this, and that's more than enough. But yeah, as you said, I think for me would be probably a 3. I think this is the weakest out of the 3 episodes so far. That's the weakest. Episode 2 is the best. Episode 1 is second out of the 3 of them. So we'll move on to obviously Farewell. And then I think we'll just do a full season review, spread the arts, and then we'll finish it off here, and then we'll move True Colors into a separate one because there's plenty to talk about there. Farewell. Do you want to take this?
Do you want to start it?
I've talked a lot.
Okay. Farewell, I think, was a welcomed mix into it, especially with the original voice actors coming back into it. I think it was one of the best purchased DLCs I've ever made in my entire life in terms of like DLC, the value behind it, and the value it gave. I think that True Colors. I think that Farewell from Before the Storm was a really well received DLC. In terms of all that we thought about with Before the Storm, in terms of what it should be a good prequel, right? I think Farewell made up for having things that are not paid off, but also on the same light, the argument that a prequel can still be good. Even though you know what the end is going to be, that a prequel still can be great. Because even though you knew what the story was, you didn't really know it was that day. For one, they were wearing 2 different outfits in terms of like where the day was in Life is Strange 1 versus in Farewell. They were wearing completely different outfits. But that's not the argument right now. That's just it's not the argument. That is an artist argument. But you didn't know it was that day. Like playing it through, you really didn't know. And that was just the beauty behind it. It's just like, oh my God. it ended like that, and then that's when he realized this is the prequel to one of the episodes in Life is Strange. So I think there was a lot of unnecessary puzzles within Farewell. I think it kind of milks the runtime a little bit with some of like especially in the attic. The attic, it was just unnecessary. Let's put it, So good for them for making good puzzles in a game. It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy to write out game puzzles. So applause for that. But at the same time, it wasn't necessary for the resources that they had. But I think it paid off. And I think it was the argument that, Before the Storm wasn't a good prequel, but Farewell within Before the Storm, Farewell was a great prequel. And it gives the argument that prequels still can be great. So with all that being said, I am I was about to say,
yes,
I'm used to giving mine now, so autopilot.
So I think what you said was quite right on like a lot of points. I think like the puzzles we should reference. This is almost like for the Life is Strange series, it's almost like Resident Evil, where it's like Resident Evil has like such difficult puzzles in its like previous installments. It's so difficult. Like Life is Strange puzzles are just so hard and just like painful at times. Like, and it's not a puzzle game. It's just like the puzzles are filling in gameplay experience essentially. As I said, like it's more or less an interactive game, episodic games in this kind of format, and like the puzzles are like are hit and miss at times, like, and they're painful across like a lot of them. Some of them, like the bottle scenes, and then especially with this one, this is like puzzle heavy as well. So I agree with you that. I also agree with you a bit that this is one of the best paid DLCs you can get. This is like for me in the same bracket as Minerva's Den from BioShock 2. Like I rave about it. I love Farewell. But in terms of the story, I think like maybe. And it might just be a continuity error that they did. Maybe they changed the clothes on purpose just because they didn't want you to clock on very early. That is the ending.
I guess so. It's kind of like one of those things. Like it's an artist direction. It's not really. Yeah. It's a nitpick. It's not really a criticism. It's kind of like, well, actually, kind of one of those things. Like it doesn't really matter, but it's just like one of those. Actually, so one of those like doesn't matter. I'm not giving it like I'm not taking away the score because of the clothes. No. I completely agree with you, and I think obviously you should do your research. You should make it as similar as possible. I think if it's not obviously like an actual mistake that they made where they should have made it, then maybe they just did it on purpose because they want you not to realize, as you said, what the ending is. Where it's like it's set up for this day, so maybe it was that. Maybe just as a theory in mind. But generally speaking, it's great. It's so great. Like obviously everyone wanted to see Ashley Birch came back. Obviously this was kind of like the SAG strikes had kind of like started to cool down. We had a very small reference from Joe Ockman in there, who was William Price's actor from the first Life is Strange, has the audio in there briefly. Obviously Hannah Tell's back. It's Max Caulfield, it's Chloe Price. It's like I think like this kind of like captured people's hearts a little bit, where they kind of wanted a Life is Strange prequel set just even like very early, like just even a little bit slightly before the events of Life is Strange 1, where it's like they had Max and Chloe together, or they wanted essentially a direct sequel. It's like it gave them more Max and Chloe, which I think like for me personally, I think is one of the biggest mistakes that Square Enix made in terms of from a publisher's position, not what Donut wanted to do, but from a publisher's position to capitalize on two characters. They could have made 3 games out of them and easily like made money off it. And I always say this in laugh with because I love Final Fantasy, and Square Enix has made it with like Lightning, for example, with FF13. FF13 is not really liked by a lot of people, but they stuck with Lightning for 3 games, and they just made pig's dinner for a lot of people. For me personally, again, like FF13, like some of the future installments, but it wasn't the one. It's like when you have a Cloud Strife, you make a trilogy about him, like they're doing now. It's like when you have a Max Caulfield, you want to make more games on her because it's like you have the opportunity there. It's a rare opportunity to kind of get the success that you did with the first Life is Strange, and you can make another game on it. So it felt like Farewell was the satisfying kind of like prequel, which a lot of the fans wanted. I kind of saw it with both sides, where people from even the ones who didn't really like BTS were actually enjoying playing as these two. But yeah, it just felt like it was innocence, wasn't it? It's pure innocence, this entire part of it. It gives you a fresh perspective on the kind of the early relationship Max and Chloe had, even beyond episode 3's kind of like rewinding moment where you go into the past. It just gave you more expanding kind of depth on it. And then it's obviously like, as you said, the ending's kind of like of Farewell. And it's like, that's kind of like, that's the kind of, that punches more as a prequel ending compared to like the ending for episode 3, where it's like the montage thing with
the dark room thing. It's kind of like this punches a little bit more, and I'm like, yeah, that was actually kind of like a good setup there. You gave it a lot. It's a lot nicely paced. It's just, as I said, it just feels like an innocent experience. It's nothing over the top. You're in the house. You're just doing little puzzles. Difficult, a bit challenging sometimes. Like even now, as well, like Jesus Christ. But generally speaking, yeah, really enjoyed it. It's really good. It's really good. And probably, it would be like a 4.5.
I was about to give it a 4. It's not necessarily a 5.
No.
It's up there, though. I'm going to give this, I was about to say, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5.
In the terms of the series and the full, it's the best in terms of like that, because it's pure nostalgia, and it's like everyone loves this. I live in nostalgia. I'm a millennial. Pure nostalgia. It's got everything you wanted in there. It could have just been a bit more. There was obviously room and stuff to do it, but it's like, again, you're limiting things because you're playing as 2 young kids, so you can't really have Max's rewind power, for example. That's gone. And it's like, off the top of my head, there's no backtalk in it, is there?
Nope, not in Farewell.
So there you go. You lose the other core mechanic you tried to introduce. So it's basically just standard gameplay /
It's a standard walking simulator, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with a walking simulator. I love Gone Home, for example. Like, there's no issue with a walking simulator, but it's like you miss that. This is where the series like really has that difficulty since the rewind mechanics, like something that's really defined the experience in a different way. And True Colors, you could make an argument for it. Did it with that? I think like it really did have its own. It had its opportunity with the empathy power, but still, again, it's not as meaty as just like rewinding time, like doing all these kind of changing choices and how it can kind of like change like little puzzles and solutions and stuff. But generally speaking, I think it kind of like made people feel happy, and it was kind of like, for me now in hindsight, 2023, it was like almost like perfect sign off for Hanatel and like Ashley Birch. Like, see you later, bye, and we're done now. We're wrapped out, and it's like that's it. But yeah, very strong. So before we move into Spread the Arts as well, I think we should review it as a season. In personally, what would you score it?
I'm in between. So if it wasn't for Farewell being in this series, it's a 3.5. If it wasn't for Farewell, it's a 3.5. I still have very fond memories of Before the Storm. I still love it. I still have the vinyl of the Daughter soundtrack. I think it's a great series. That doesn't stop me from objectively saying that it's a 3.5. However, with Farewell being in this series technically as a prequel, and I think Farewell is meant to be there to make Before the Storm even better. If Before the Storm is the chicken, Farewell is the salt and pepper. It gives it flavor, it gives it depth, it gives it actual like process. But with that, I'm going to give it a 4 because of Farewell.
It's so funny that you made the comment before. It's like you want a 2.25 or a 3.75. I'm in that territory. It's like I love it like a 3.75. Like I'm so same. It's like it's in the middle of it. It's like it's the same with that. I think it's probably a 3.5. It's a solid. It's a solid episodic series. Like compared to this was at the height of all those episodic runs, all the Telltale games, the Don't Nod games, etc., where they're really capitalizing on it. And it's more substantially better than obviously Michonne, really more than Michonne at all. But it's like it's missing parts to it. Like even Farewell wasn't even planned like in terms of like part of the 3 episodes that you started with. So it's like if it was just the 3 episodes, it probably would have fallen on a 3 because it's like the episodes are too hit and miss, and the pacing isn't given time. The story isn't like look. For what Web Pickers Girl, Chris Floyd did for the code direction, it was great. Like there was some great iconic moments. Like not even the Don't Nod team created it. It's like they are now part of the Life is Strange series. Like the Tempest, the train car sequence, Truth's Not a Lie. Great scenes in that. The acting is great. Even especially Callie Brown. Callie Brown's great in it. Rihanna agrees. Give her full credit. Give credit to the actors who came in for the saga replacements. Like they all had to step up in their own positions. They were all expectations. They did really well for what they had. And even like the writing is good in places, but it's just like there's just like unfortunate payoffs that aren't made. There's just kind of like substantial kind of storylines that could have been expanded, a bit more length to it, a bit more meat to it, a bit more kind of like expanding on this storyline, giving a payoff here, maybe throwing a bit of a twist in here, maybe giving Deck 9 a bit more of a bold kind of like direction with it. Not even like giving Rachel power, but like as I said, like those little things where it's like the Rachel and Frank relationship isn't exactly what you think it is. It's just a perspective you've been seeing it from, or this person's story. Just again, those are the kind of like little issues I had with it. So personally speaking, would be a 3.5 overall.
Yes, I agree. Like I said, the only reason I'll give it a 4 is for Farewell. but even then, it's kind of like, I still question it.
Yeah, like Farewell would drag it up in terms of the score along with episode 2, but it's like the other two are like a good, okay, substantial episodes. So as I said, I think it's a good series so far. But yeah, Jace, thank you for the topic suggestion. As I said, we'll move Life is Strange True Colors into a separate one, and we'll carry over for your idea as well. I think because of this, we'll go into like 2.5 hours otherwise. And I think it's better we focus on each chapter in True Colors as well, because there's a lot to say about True Colors, as I've always said.
Yes.
But Adam, spread the arts. Let's move into that.
Yeah. You want to start?
Do you want to go first? Yeah, okay. I'll go first. Yeah. So I actually I got recommended this from a friend, which I never even heard of this film, and I actually watched it. So it's called a film called The Menu. 2022.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I actually watched this.
Bro.
And I thought
everything from that in terms of like chef world, that's exactly how we all feel. Like I watched it, like everybody's like, it's so horrible. I was like sitting there like, Yep, I get that one. Yep, totally.
So just for anyone who's like not seen it, heard of it, so basically the synopsis is the film, penned by Will Tracy and Seth Reyes, quote unquote, focuses on a young couple who visit an exclusive destination restaurant on a remote island where the acclaimed chef has prepared a lavish tasting menu. So I'm not going to give you the full details of it. I'm not going to even give you the genre of it, because I don't want you to, because like when you get it, you get it. And that's what happened with me. I when I get it, I got it. And I was like, and I've worked in restaurants, so it's like, visibly felt like I love when the chef was saying certain things about the menu is presented this way and it's telling this story. And it's like, and I'm like, I get what you're doing. It's like, I get what you're doing here. I get the setup of it. I get the, like, some of the characters, like, I think the only thing is that the like 9 out of the 10 characters are really unlikable. So it's like, it's just like, you want these people to, like, something bad to happen to them because they're just unlikable characters. But generally speaking, Ray Fiennes, love Ray Fiennes. What an actor. He's such a great actor. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to give you anything more in terms of detail. Don't watch the trailer.
Go in cold.
Just stick it on.
Yes.
Just stick it on and watch it. Because when I say to you, it's like, you'll get it at a certain point. You'll get what happens. It's a good film. It's stylistically beautifully shot, and beautifully representation as well. Like during the cinematography, it's very reflective of like high-end food as well. Everyone wants a stylistic Michelin star dish. They want that kind of presentation. It's presented in the same way in terms of cinematography and the editing and the visual direction. So beautifully done and very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for now?
Cinematic.
Very cinematic, yes. But also very cinematic. Yeah, it's beautifully done for that. So as I said, recommend The Menu. Don't watch the trailer. Just stick it on.
Yeah. Go in cold.
See how you feel. Because when I finished it, I just didn't know how I felt at first. And I was like, that's interesting. This film's done that. It's like, first time I watched a new film for a while, and it's like, I get it. And I see where this is going. And it's like, there we go. Yeah.
Good recommendation. I also recommend The Menu. It's good. As someone who's been on the line cook side and has cooked for many years, it's a good one. For mine, just a little shout out, as I always do, Cast a Garden, new EP coming out hopefully next month before June. So we'll see, hopefully, but I'm working on it. And I'm liking where I'm going with it. But in terms of, I also have another thing that you should watch, because my wife has never seen this series and I haven't seen it in years. So I was like, let's watch it because I know how good it is. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is a Nickelodeon show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. And man, oh man, does it hold up. Because I remember watching it like when it was on TV, and then maybe like the following year rewatched it. So I haven't seen it since probably 2012, probably 10 years since I've seen it. And can I tell you, it holds up. Like it straight holds up. Like it's an emotional roller coaster. Every episode's a banger. It pays off in the best way possible. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the series, not the movie. And also Netflix is making a live action version of it. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. It has the same budget. Yeah. It has a pretty high budget. It's second under Endgame in terms of budget for Last Airbender, doesn't mean it's going to be good. But my spread the arts is going to be Avatar: The Last Airbender. You can find it on Netflix in America, not sure in UK, but it's there, and I recommend it. It's only 23 hours. The entire series is only 23 hours, so not bad. You can definitely streamline that.
Yeah, no, it's a great shout. It's like I don't really agree with like live action stuff as well. Like because the drawings are what makes it. Like when you we're millennials, we live in nostalgia. It's like when you watch like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, it's the drawings that made it beautiful. Like I don't like 3D animated stuff. Like I'm all for that earlier stuff. And like that's like when you watch it now and you say it like holds up against time. I watched this TikTok video where this guy was like, he said, he's like, why are millennials so nostalgic? And I'm like, why wouldn't you be? It's like, look at the stuff we grew up with, even before millennials came thing, even like the 80s, you had Star Wars, you had the advent of stuff, you know, all these kind of like iconic figures that started emerging in horror films, iconic TV shows, even from my time, like me growing up from the 1990s to like 2000, why do you think I talk about South Park so much? Lost, Metal Gear. I lived through all the kind of like heights of like really iconic things. Look at what you get in modern cinema now. Where it's like rehashes, remakes. What's iconic? My brother said this to me in a conversation once. He's like, name me an iconic horror film in like last 15 years aside from Jigsaw. And you're like, hang on a minute. It's like, there's no one there. It's like, you can't even say like the Ring Girl or something. That's not really iconic, if anything. It's like, there's no Freddy Krueger. There's no Jason Voorhees. There's no Michael Myers. No Leatherface. These are guys all predating 2000, if not the 80s and 70s. It's like, we're talking about iconic villains as well. There's no one there. Jigsaw's the last one. Jigsaw Saw was like 2004 or something. It's like, that's the thing with nostalgia. Like, I live in nostalgia as a millennial now, because it's like, they were the good times. It was like The Simpsons, South Park, The Family Guys, The American Dads, The Lost, The Prison Breaks, all this content TV.
Oh no, it's from Scream. Shoot. His name. Oh,
David Arquette.
No. Like the actual villain from
Wes Craven. Oh no.
No. Killface. Something. Scream.
Ghostface.
Shoot. What's that?
Ghostface.
Ghostface. Yeah, I would say Ghostface in the last 15 years.
Yeah, but Scream came out in the 90s.
Damn it. You're right. Yeah, I forgot.
And also as well, let me just say something. Did you watch Scream 6?
No, I didn't.
I've watched it.
Yeah. Oh, is it since we're still in Spread the Arts, yes. Is it bad?
God,
so bad.
Wes Craven is rolling around in his grave.
Oh.
He is that man, the horror god as he is rolling around his. Just stop it. Just stop it, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Stop it. You went and rebooted as Scream, and then you decided to make Scream 6.
Yeah.
just to prove that you haven't. Like, do you know what? I'll talk to you off podcast about it. It made me furious. I was like, why is this film even a thing? It's like, stop it. You're now cashing on nostalgia of Ghostface. It's like, Scream is not meant to go on for this long. It stopped for me at Scream 3. Scream 4 was a pass at most if Wes Craven went to it. But it's just, stop it. Stop it. Like, even the TV show.
One question on that on camera. Did it at least make a commentary on Hollywood at some point? Because again, Scream 5 was all about like, this is a reboot kind of thing. Like they made a play on words where it's like, oh, all the main characters, but the new characters, you know? Did it at least make a commentary on Hollywood?
Yeah, it sort of does it again. But again, that's like such a cliche now for Scream. It's like every other Scream they want to make a commentary or something. They do it again. But it's like, it doesn't have any substantial meaning towards it. And this Scream, the way that they're setting up with it, because it's like, oh, it's all about the new generation, no longer the old generation anymore, blah, blah. It's like all these it just stinks for me when I was watching it, like Miss Marvel vibes. I'm like, I don't care about this. It's like, this is like, where you watch it, and I'm like, I understand why Disney's like, for me, the comic book fatigue is now firmly set in, because like, even with the MCU universe, that is no longer popular the way it used to be, because you've seen the big characters done and dusted. No one cares now at this point. Mm-hmm. It's like people are yearning for like good stuff, where it's like the old stuff. Like, I grew up watching like, you know, Tarantino was making films like then, Scorsese was making films, George Lucas, Spielberg, Nolan, like, you know, original kind of works. Now it's like, oh, here's like 15 superhero films that are now dominating the Hollywood box office. And the same with Scream is like, oh, we'll just reboot a Scream. Oh, we'll remake Resident Evil 4. Really enjoy Resident Evil 4. And people are like, oh, it's 10 out of 10 and stuff. It's like, yeah, because the foundation has already been laid down by Shinji Mikami in 2004, because he made a 10 out of 10 game. So it's like, it's like me going, you know, it's not as easy as it making out, but it's like me and you going remaking the first Metal Gear, and it gets 10 out of 10s. And all we did was to change. All we did was just basically elevate it into the 21st century with certain mechanics. But it's basically the same story that's been made by Hideo Kojima. It's no different from like doing it with a Gears of War, for example. If you remake Gears of War and it plays almost the exact same, you add one or two different things in it, make it a bit more fluid. Well,
they did.
But it's still
they remade it. It was called the Gears of War Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, well, that was just a remastered, wasn't it? They just remastered the entire thing. They didn't remake from the ground
I think
up.
you're right. Yeah, it was just a remaster. Yeah.
Like, if we're talking like full remake, same with like Halo 3. If me and you remade it for Halo 3, it's like we didn't personally remake the entire story. Someone's already set the iconic foundation for the story. But on the point with Scream, it's just, oh god, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think we should end here. Because I think we had a good episode. Again, Jace, thank you so much for your topic suggestion. As we said, we'll move the True Colours one into another future episode, if not next week or the next episode. Sorry, actually, I should say. But as I said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are new here one more time as well, please do consider dropping us a like, turn on the notifications, subscribe to the channel. It helps you support the channel. Well, 50% plus of the traffic comes from outside sources, so do subscribe if you are here. It just helps us keep the numbers up and appeal to new people whilst we try and get them onto this channel. And also, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services. So it's available on Spotify with a video version again. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Amazon. It's available on every platform, so you can check us out there. If you are interested in having a topic covered, as I said, Jace has posted in here. I think Langston Speaks has posted a topic suggestion we've done. Come onto YouTube, come onto this video, drop a comment, let us know any future topics you want us to talk about. We will add them to our list because there's always room for us as well. Usually it's me just thinking of something or Adam thinking of something. It's like sometimes it's just easier for people to give us topics that they want to hear talked about and we can kind of give our perspectives on. But yeah, as I said, in the comments, leave us below any topic suggestions you got, as well as let us know how you feel about BTS. What's the best episode? Do you agree with our rankings? Do you think Adam's wrong? Do you think I'm right? Etc.
Sure.
As I said.
Yeah. Am I right or wrong about Zach Garris saying that?
Yeah, that's the big gate that we have. That's Garris gate that we have in a minute.
Definitely remember him saying that, yeah. Yes.
So there you go. Right. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned. We'll be back next month. I assume we'll probably do early next month a Steph's story review because I will download it this month and we'll listen to it and we'll start that. Will be a very late review for that, but we'll do it as well as a full episode because I think there's a lot to talk about there. In the meantime, stay tuned. There's more content coming to this channel. Until then, take care, guys.
Later.